Welcome back. While the potential loss of international trade agreements could disrupt South Africa's trade balance, domestic issues are in fact far more serious. That's the view of commodity market analyst Dr Mmatlou Kalaba from the Bureau for Food and Agricultural Policy. According to Kalaba, the fact that there are such high-level discussions regarding the EU and AGOA agreements should be a wake-up call that South Africa needs to invest in securing other markets. He joins us now to unpack this further. Dr Kalaba, thank you as always for your time. Great to speak to you here on South Africa tonight. So, amid fears that we could be dropped from AGOA, you're saying that local issues have more far-reaching consequences. And some of those main concerns, of course, are electricity, road and rail infrastructure challenges, the issues at our ports. What are some of the other main concerns that are keeping those in the agricultural sector awake at night?
Yes, I think you have a point, and in that, when we look at trade, we tend to think of it as just the final destination or the market. However, the trade is just one component, and if you look at the entire value chain, trade is a small part, although very important. It is a small part of the entire production activity. So while indeed the international markets, as you mentioned in your introduction, are a concern, even more concerning should be the local conditions, the local issues. Secondly, because those are the things that often we have more control over, and we can put the resources to get them right if we have intentions to do so. But some of the issues, as you mentioned, the issue of power outages is a concern throughout the entire economy. Furthermore, we have transportation issues. We know about the rail network. And as a result, now we have turned into using the road for moving goods internally from various farms and pack houses towards the borders or the exit points to those international markets. If you look at one of the main ports in South Africa being the Durban and closest to some of the farming communities, it has been, affected by a number of challenges, floods. We have internal issues with regards to instability. We have a lot of crime along the N3 road network. So those are some of the issues that are really creating a very unstable environment for trade, but even more so, make trade even more expensive before it even gets out, the products leave the South African shores.
What do our ties with major Western markets and trade partners look like at the moment? And are those fears over the stability of these deals justified? Should we be very worried?
Look, we should be concerned that they will be affected. There are short-term shocks to some of those markets. As you said, with the Western world, let's say maybe focusing on the two key markets, in this case being the European Union as well as the United States. The issues of AGOA, which, move outside the agricultural production and trade, but into the geopolitics and diplomatic relations, it doesn't matter what the causes are, they do shake those kind of relations. And we have seen and even heard of a number of attempts to try to sort out the relations and improve those market access. And let us not forget that our trade with the United States in particular is under the African Growth Opportunities Act, which is trade preference scheme offered to African countries by the United States. So that arrangement is coming to an end in about 2 years' time. At the end of 2025, AGOA is coming to an end, and it is currently undergoing review. And obviously, South Africa and other sub-Saharan African countries do not want to lose that market. In other words, they need an extension.
Let's talk quickly about Africa. I do apologize. I think we lost you briefly there. So we have talked at length about AGOA and the benefits for South Africa in terms of trade broadly, not just agriculture. But Do you think Africa is often overlooked as a valuable market for South African agricultural products as well as other export products?
Okay, I lost you there as well.
I do
I
apologize. It
didn't
seems
hear the
load shedding
question
is
about
messing with our
Africa.
signal. Yeah, I'm asking about the potential for trade with African countries.
The potential is there, and over time, that potential has been explored as we have seen general South African trade towards the continent growing. But further potential is also enhanced by the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is really undergoing the final touch-ups. So there is another outlet and opportunity to expand South African trade into the continent. So there are promising signs and indications that over time it can gain substantial share. But overall, you need a diverse market. You don't need only one partner to take up your goods, particularly if you are the #1 exporter of certain products in the world. So you need quite a diverse market, not only one.
Where should we be looking for alternate markets?
Middle East has been very helpful, and the incomes in the Middle East are very high. China and Asia in general is another outlet where some of the agricultural products are consumed in large quantities. They are growing fast, and they are mostly middle income to high income countries. But currently those markets are underserved from South Africa's point of view.
Unfortunately, there are some of our products, for instance, pecan nuts, where China was one of our big markets. However, they have now recently planted a vast amount of hectares of pecan nuts themselves, and in future they will no longer be looking to South Africa to import our nuts because they will be producing their own. So we really need to tweak what we produce in line with the markets that are available for those products. Do you think the South African agricultural sector is agile enough at the moment, given the many challenges that they've faced recently in terms of input costs, too much rain, agile enough to be able to make those shifts quickly?
Well, it's not mainly South Africa per se, but generally agricultural products have that type of characteristic, as you mentioned, agility. So it's once you have a crop on the ground, be it maize, if the market conditions change, there's no way you can do anything about it. However, the diversification that I talked about earlier on, you would use it to find an alternative market within the short period of time. But another point that you just made about the pecans, those are tree products which are left on the ground for close to 20 years. And those, again, you cannot just uproot them. It comes at high investment cost because another country is now a major producer. But you find ways to be competitive. You find another markets where maybe China is not going to participate in. And it talks to the point I mentioned earlier on, that we need both the developing, both Western, African, and Eastern markets in our basket of partners.
Thank you so much for your time this evening. That was Dr Mmatlou Kalaba from the Bureau for Food and Agricultural Policy, talking to us a little bit about our markets and trade partners for African produce.